I've always had a deep respect for the original inhabitants of North America. And I'm very pleased that I can travel through their lands. Now this is really cool. I'm at the Navajo Nation, and just before Tuba City. Look what's here. These are dinosaur footprints. Like real dinosaur footprints. Look at this. Is this incredible? Although these tracks were bird-like, they were not like any bird of today. Perhaps a small raptor dinosaur. There's something really eerie about walking on the exact same ground as those prehistoric beasts. Amazing. 200 million years ago, these dinosaurs walked here. Where were they going, and did they make it? Questions lost in time. As for me, I had a general idea where I was going, but I wasn't sure if it was open this season or if there was space available. Finding the entrance ungated was a good sign. This is the Navajo National Monument. A map by the visitor center showed me the Sunset View campground was nearby. And it also confirmed the drones were not allowed here. No campfires, pets on leash, all fine with me. But there is one detail the sign didn't mention, which is quite important to people like me, because all 31 campsites on this beautifully paved road are free for 14 days. And that includes a restroom with running water, but no showers. Hey, you can't expect everything for free. So no fire pit, but you do get a picnic table. And a paved parking pad. Although I found it a little short. Ouch! A little tough getting in here, but I made it. Ooh, a little chilly as well. Grab my coat. After setting up camp, I needed to get oriented, so went to a couple of viewpoints. This one, from Segi Viewpoint Overlook, features the Fur Canyon. A short descent on the Aspen Trail took me to the Aspen Forest Overlook. This featured the Batatatkin Canyon, which is the park's major attraction. My curiosity satisfied, I went to bed under a crescent moon. Whoa! What on earth's going on? It's really, really cold this morning. When I got in here, it was like 65 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, just a light jacket because of the wind. And last night, it got below freezing, and right now it's still freezing. I did check the forecast. A couple of days ago, it said there was be a couple of days of sun and, about 65. However, when I looked again this morning, everything had drastically changed. Cold front moved in. There's going to be snow tomorrow, so this might be a very short little visit. I better take advantage of it now. If I wanted snow, I'd stay in Canada. So I set off for a little exploring. To access the trails, you pass through the information center. Along with a service desk for info, maps, and souvenirs, there is a nice little museum showing the history and artifacts of the various people who inhabited the region for close to 1,000 years. Also featured are the miniature dioramas of cliff dwellings in the area. A walk out the back door brings you to the present. The Sandal Trail is well suited for nature and bird watching, which piqued my interest when the first bird pictured was a bush tit. The problem was these birds moved so fast I couldn't get a good video, but I did manage to capture a still, proving this to be a white-breasted nuthatch. In a flash of feathers, another bird appeared. Blink and it's gone. However, I do think I did finally get a little bush tit that day. But I digressed a little. Sandal Trail is only a mile round trip and is easy for all to explore, especially if you like gnarly trees. Now, although the land's pretty rugged here, the trail's pretty easy. It's on pavement, and if it goes down, there's steps. There are more rugged trails, especially to the ruins, but they have to be booked in advance. And right now, that's about 4 months in advance. Seems those tours go really quickly. But there's no tours today. I can just walk around. The predominant rock formations here are made of sandstone that are soft and porous in the upper parts of the hills. These are susceptible to erosion, and the rains and winds sketch patterns on their surface. Underneath, however, is a harder variety of sandstone that acts as a barrier to groundwater. This makes them unstable, causing giant slabs of rock to break loose at the lower elevations. These indents at the base of a cliff are called alcoves. All along the trail are placards to identify flora, like this one, which is Utah juniper, primarily used as fuel by the original settlers. The pinyon pine provides pinyon nuts, a tasty treat still sold in the roadside stands in the area. the yucca, buffalo berry, and Mormon tea. It's good for stomach trouble, even if you aren't Mormon. A little snow was still here from the last storm. Okay, a little too much dawdling. Time to finish the walk. Wow, look at that. Ancient village right into the rock cliff in a hollow. These are the ruins of Batatatkin. Nestled in an alcove are the well-preserved remains of an ancient settlement of the Puebloan people, sometimes referred to as the Anasazi. Using bricks carved out of the local sandstone, 120 rooms were plastered together using mud, mortar, and wood. Wood samples have determined the Batatatkin was inhabited between the years 1250 and 1300, which is a relatively short time period. And for some reason it was abandoned over 700 years ago. Some believe a 20-year drought may be the reason the people moved on. However, the Hopi oral history suggests it might have been a spiritual quest and that the builders of this monument are still with us. Must have been a beautiful place to live. Even if you only came to peer across this overlook, a trip to the Navajo Monument is a memorable visit. It's just so absolutely stunningly beautiful here, and so rich with ancient culture. For those that seek history and tradition, or admire the effects of time on the rocks, who study the diversity of ecosystems, or can grasp the raw splendor of nature, will surely appreciate these sacred lands. My visit to Navajo Monument was far too brief, but I knew I had to move on, as another force of nature was lurking on the horizon. Well, here comes the snow. I thought I was going to get away from it, but guess it follows me. But that was just a little sprinkle, a reminder of bigger things to come. And as the sun set on the horizon, the fire in the clouds would eventually be doused. After a little careful consideration, I made a decision for the next day and retired for the night. In the morning, I set off again. Too bad I didn't get a chance to visit that little casita camp nearby. Although I usually forge ahead on new horizons, this time I actually backtracked, returning the way I came. All reports said it was going to be a rather big storm, covering most of Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Texas. And the only way to avoid it was to head west. I passed through the higher elevations of the Kaibab Plateau, where the snow was a regular feature this time of year. I only made one stop to view the grand staircase from the Lefebvre Overlook. On display in the distance are the rocky cliffs of the Colorado Plateau, which include the natural wonders of the Grand Staircase Escalante Monument, Bryce Canyon, Zion National Park, and the Grand Canyon. But none of those places were on my current path, and as I passed into Utah near Hilldale, my elevation started to descend. At the Harrisburg Junction, I entered the usual chaos of the I-15 interstate. Now back in Arizona, I made a quick dash through the Purgatory Canyon. The final state in this journey was Nevada. Heading south from Mesquite, I entered a familiar road that leads to the Whitney Pocket. By late afternoon, I made it to camp. Just in time, it seems, as the clouds were bursting in anticipation of the downpour. Well, it's a miserable, windy, and wet day, but the good news is it's not snow. I am not in a blizzard. It's at least above freezing, but not much. It's actually still kind of cool here. But where I was, it's a lot worse, so I'm okay with that. Gives me a chance to do a little editing, just chill out inside the camper, and hopefully it's going to blow over soon. Well, it's pouring out there pretty good. I haven't actually seen substantial rain for several weeks, so it's a good thing because my truck and the camper both needed a car wash, but I got one courtesy of Mother Nature for free. As the storm marched west wearing a white veil, my truck was glistening. Its weeks of dust and grime washed away. And of course, a rainbow waved from the hills. It stopped raining, the winds died down, it's calm. And the smell, oh, it's so wonderful. It's the smell of the creosote bush after the rains. This fragrance just explodes from these bushes. Oh, it's like incense and pine. Oh. It's just so beautiful. One of the best things about being in a desert after rain is the smell. However, this was not a place for quiet, but for recreation. And as the Razor Boy comes and takes your fleeting peace away, a ground squirrel sings on a cold and windy day. But in closing, the sun points its orange spotlight on the virgin peaks. With a final wink, it disappears behind the Sierra Nevadas. The curtain falls, covering Lake Mead with candy floss. Well, I think that's it. Weather's cleared up, it's sunny and warm again, but I was only here just to get out of a really bad weather situation. It's over and done with. Time to travel again. I hope you enjoyed this video and will continue to follow me on my travels. Safe roads ahead, everyone.